I'm here at Gage Gallery at my Vision Opportunity Show, which is on until February 16th. And I'm an abstract painter. And for this particular show, I've used two locations. The Okanagan, last summer I did some work, and Kona. I was able to paint there for 6 weeks in the fall. And a lot of these works reflect the colors and the air, I don't know, just the wonderfulness of being in Kona in the cold and the rain here. So I kind of moved from my traditional elements that I've used in my abstract paintings, which are, shapes and these really broad strokes, which I love. Where I use a really wide brush, I pour on different colors, and I work on the floor. So I'm able to make my marks using kind of a full arm and just kind of immerse myself into the painting. So the Okanagan ones particularly utilize those elements that I've enjoyed in the last while. There's a pair here that are on wood, and that's been a lot of fun because I experimented with, getting the background right and that sort of thing. In going to the paintings from Kona, I started something different, and that is working wet on wet. And can we swing over? And I'll just move over here. These aren't necessarily the best examples, but maybe they're the ones that work for our moment here. And so here again, I'm still working on the floor with canvases cut from a large roll to the right size for transporting home. And I wet the canvas down and again, still use the broad paintbrush with the colors, but kind of experimenting with different ways of letting the paint almost be a bit like watercolor in terms of seeping into the canvas. One of the things that occurred when I was working on the floor in Kona was on wet canvas, which the paint just handles differently, was this kind of, these two paintings, which were really fun to produce, and I wasn't in my head. That's one of the things that when I'm inserting shapes and strokes into my paintings, there's a certain amount of stopping and looking and considering, whereas these ones just flowed, and that was a real pleasure. And also they illustrate the changed palette that I've been using. If I were to show you this one here, this is my older palette, which I've really enjoyed using, and I used it partly to honor my mother. But when I went to Kona, it was time for a change, and I noticed that a lot more blues popped up in all my paintings. I could see the Pacific Ocean out the window as I was painting, and I think it just sort of seeped into everything I did. So I've quite enjoyed the looser strategy with these paintings, even though I continue to work with the shapes and the strokes that are really fun for me to use in my work in other paintings done at the same time. One of the lovely things about traveling is seeing the work of other artists. And in Kona and in the environment, there is a lively artistic community, and I was thoroughly influenced particularly by one artist who does woodcuts with a lot of wonderful rectangles, and so I thought I'd play with that idea of loose rectangles in a wet canvas. And so that's what I've done here. When I started out, again using my big brush, different colors, but kind of a muted effect compared to what I'm used to doing, and also using some marks. And I like incorporating marks into my work because these are just scratches right into the wet paint, because I have a calligraphic background, and I love how marks, what they add to a painting. So here I've done quite a few of the rectangles and then, you know, a shape on top, but now I'm trying to mute the shape and transform it again with a wonderful brush I have, which seduces me every time I use it. And I'm quite pleased with how this painting turned out. I call it In a Field of All Possibilities, which is a kind of optimistic view that I have about all my paintings, and I think that that kind of is reflected in what I've done here.